Screen. Can everybody see that? See the screen?
Yep.
Great. Well, hello, everyone. We're going to take this time to go through the Oregon Farm to CNP reimbursement grant training, just to give you all an opportunity to sit and go through the material if you haven't already. And if you have, this will be a review. This training will be recorded. So if you don't have, if you're not able to sit through it through the whole time, or need other people who aren't able to attend can go through it as well. It'll take about 40 minutes to go through the training, and then we'll have the last 20 minutes for questions, and give you some time to fill out the attestation form. So if you have questions in the meantime, feel free to put them in the chat or write them down and save them to the end, because we'll just want to get through the material so people will have a recording of the material without the questions in between. And yeah, feel free to have your cameras on or off. Yeah, let's get started. Oh, that's the wrong one. Okay. So what is the Farm to CNP grant program? And I'll also be like admitting people while this is happening. Okay. So under House Bill 2579, ODE awards grants to eligible national school lunch programs, child and adult care food programs, and or summer food service sponsors, as well as other eligible entities to reimburse for costs incurred purchasing Oregon foods, meeting certain criteria, costs associated with food-based, agriculture-based, and garden-based educational activities, and costs essential to providing technical assistance to Farm to CNP sponsors, and to provide Farm to CNP with a Farm to CNP grant program evaluation. So the grant program has 6 components: the non-competitive reimbursement grant, the competitive reimbursement grant, and then the 4 other ones: the education grant, technical assistant grant, producer infrastructure and evaluation grant. But this webinar will just be pertaining to the first 2 grants, so not the other 4. And then the biennium that began in July 2023 will go until the end of the school year in 2025. ODE has $10.4 million allocated for the Farm to CNP grant program. $4 million of these dollars are designated for the non-competitive reimbursement grant, and $1.2 million are designated for the competitive reimbursement grant. Okay. There have been a little bit of updates with the timeline, and in July you received an informal notification of your award. So that what shows you how much you have for your non-competitive grant award. And then in the fall, we were supposed to get the formal notification, but those formal notifications have not been sent out yet, which I believe you received an email this morning from ODE about the delay on those. So you'll be receiving those as soon as they can get them out. And then the timeline for the competitive reimbursement grant applications are also likely to be pushed back. But despite the changes in the timeline, like having your first claim be made by winter 2023, 2024 is still a good goal to stay in, in compliance with the grant program and demonstrate adequate spending. At the end of September 2024, you'll have your progress report due for the grant. June 30th, 2025, you'll have purchases to be made by this date. And then July 29th, 2025, all funds must be processed in EGMs. Your grant agreement will have a date of 45 days past that date to claim funds, which is August 14th. So all funds or all claims need to be in the system by August 14th. But it's a good idea to have those set in early or do them along the way so you don't have them all at the end. And then September 30th, 2025, your final report is due. And other notable things about timing for new grantees, like those that did not participate in the previous biennium, the baseline report is due before the first claim submission. So that's a good thing to get done before the end of the year. And for returning grantees who did participate in the previous biennium, will have the final report from their last biennium due in September, but you still have this time to get those in before your first claims. And all claims can be made retroactively to July 1st, 2023. Just gonna check this, okay. All right. Eligibility and awards. Eligible child nutrition program sponsors are automatically opted in to receive a Farm to CNP non-competitive reimbursement grant award. Eligible entities are any public Oregon school authority participating in the National School Lunch Program and any center-based sponsor of a child and adult care food program. Sponsors participating in the summer food service program are also eligible. Sponsors must be in good standing across all child nutrition programs. Any sponsor that holds seriously deficit status will not be issued an award until they are in compliance with their ODE child nutrition program. Should a grantee go into seriously deficient status sometime during the grant period, they will not be permitted to make additional claims against their award until they're in compliance. Charter schools are able to participate only if the school participates in the National School Lunch Program. And new in this biennium, the non-competitive reimbursement grant minimum awards will start at $3,500, an increase of $3,000 to account for cost in managing the grant itself. And awards are calculated using a formula based on the sponsor's meal counts from July 1st, 2022 to March 31st, 2023. All right, some of the program requirements. In order to participate, one step that's required is reporting. There is the baseline report for new grantees. As I stated before, this report captures data on the past food purchasing. The progress report that's due midway through the biennium. This report captures data on food purchased during the first year of the biennium. And then the final report, which is required to participate in the following biennium. This report captures data on food purchases during the last year of the biennium. And these reports allow ODE and the rest of Farm to School to compare data at the beginning, middle, and end of biennium and report it back to Oregon legislator. Using this information, the Oregon legislator determines if the program will continue to be funded and to what degree. Making accurate reporting is crucial to the future success and the reach of the Farm to CNP grant program. As such, these reports are required of all grantees to access their awards, and links to these reports and current due dates can be found on the non-competitive reimbursement grant webpage under reporting. And if you need access to that, I can send that to whoever needs it. The other step in participation is an adequate claiming progress. So we don't require, or OD does not require monthly claim submissions for the Farm to CNP reimbursement grant. However, grantees must show adequate claiming progress to support the grant's goal. What this means is that the grantee's claim progress must reflect the duration of the time they have to make claims. For instance, halfway through the biennium or at the end of the 2023-2024 school year, a grantee should have claimed at least 50% of their initial award. 3/4 of the way through, halfway through next school year, you should have at least 75% of the initial award spent down. Grantees must make their first claim by approximately this winter. This is not being enforced due to the grant agreements not going out yet, but it's still a good goal to, and we still strongly encourage you to have claims in and do your claims before the holiday, just to get them out of the way. If a grantee does not show adequate progress, a portion or all of the award can be pulled and will be added to the competitive reimbursement grant allocation. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But this is not something that happens without warning. There'll be multiple notifications and communication attempts before any action is given. And if the grantee notifies ODE with a solid spending plans for the funds, they'll likely allow an exception here. But please note, proposing to simply spend the funds in the future does not constitute a plan. A clear strategy must be communicated. And lastly, to subscribe to the Farm to CNP listserv for that adequate communication. So to participate, you must be signed up. Returning grantees should ensure that any new employees are added. The link to the sign up is on the Farm to CNP main webpage. This is very important as the listserv is the primary communication avenue for important announcements. Okay. All right. So getting started. If your district or organization is new to Farm to CNP, you'll have a few action items before you complete before you're able to claim against your award. This may include getting set up to ODE's electronic management grant system, EGMS. So please email Farm to CNP team at farmtocnp@ode.oregon.gov as soon as possible for a checklist of items tailored to your district or organization. And you may have already received some of those. So those action items might include having your institution ID, EGMS, access requests, a W-9, direct deposit setup, joining the listserv, and submitting the baseline report. And all of those can be found on the ODE EGMS webpage. For returning grantees, it'll be a little bit shorter. However, some of the action items are still required. Those might include updating any contacts, adding new employees to the listserv, and submitting your final report. And then all grantees, new and returning, must view this mandatory training. And after viewing, grantees will submit the attestation verifying this. Information on how to submit this, I'll share at the end of the training. All grantees should update their CNP web contacts as needed. This is where we pull contact data for grant agreements. So inaccurate data can slow down this process. Depending on your access level, updates can be done on CNP web or through your ODE nutrition specialist. So emailing OD directly or one of us. All right, now to the juicy stuff. Allowable and unallowable products. So grantees must use at least 70% of the award on food purchases directly, but up to 25% of the award may be used for other reasonable costs incurred for growing, harvesting, transporting, procuring, or processing food served in your food service programs, as well as for agriculture-based or food and nutrition-based education. Costs could be include small wares, packaging, delivery fees, and other miscellaneous supplies. All right, so kind of like yes. Oh, sorry, someone talking.
Am I not muted?
I'm gonna mute you. Oh, you got it. Okay, so if something is produced in Oregon, it's an allowable product. Produced products are grown, raised, or caught in Oregon. These could include Oregon-grown fruits, vegetables, legumes, grains, and Oregon-raised meats and Oregon-caught seafood. This includes products that have been processed outside of Oregon, but made with at least some Oregon-produced ingredients. So it could be like mixed. The other element is processed in Oregon. So processed products are those that are more than minimally processed in Oregon. These items could be grown, caught, or raised out of state, but processed into a usable product here in Oregon. Some examples include flours, noodles, tamales, sauces, and pizza. Or it can be produced and processed in Oregon. So those items include tofu processed in Oregon from an Oregon-grown soy or dairy products produced in Oregon from milk from Oregon-raised cows. And the minimally processed means that the food product was processed in a manner that does not fundamentally alter the product, and the product retains its inherent character. The terms includes but not limited to butchering livestock and poultry, cleaning fish, dicing meats, slicing produce, forming ground food products into patties, grinding meats, dehydrating or drying or dehydrating food products, and washing produce. So all those would be minimally processed and are not eligible. There are other things that are items that are routinely served in food service programs, such as milk for drinking and breads, buns, and rolls. Those are all unallowable products. And also unallowable are fruits and vegetables that are grown outside of Oregon and only minimally processed in Oregon, like a carrot that's chopped into slices, but it's grown out of state. Other unallowable items include oil, pan spray, butter, margarine, and salad dressings. Some unallawables commonly found on claims are tropical and citrus fruits that are not grown in Oregon. And a comprehensive list of allowable and unallowable items can be found on the Farm to CNP Reimbursement Grant webpage under allowable and unallowable products. This resource also explains some of the common misconceptions as well as some gray areas. So we encourage you to look over that document and bookmark the page for reference. If you have any questions, what's considered reimbursable? It's a good thing to get in touch with ODE about and ask them first before you make a claim on it. So just reach them out if you have any reach out to them if you have any questions. All right, now the claims procedure. So to be reimbursed for Oregon grown, produced, processed, and raised foods, claims must be submitted to Farm to CNP at ode.oregon.gov, reviewed by the Farm to CNP team, and then approved for EGM's entry. So this is what the reimbursement grant claim form looks like. You can download, or you need to download the most recent version of the claim form template, which can be found on the reimbursement grant webpage under resources for claims. For those who are less familiar with Excel, after downloading opening file, you'll need to click enable editing and then save as, and now you're ready to fill out the form. We recommend that you download a new sheet for each claim, as the claim form template can change. And if you submit a claim on an outdated version, that will be sent back to you and be asked to resubmit with the current claim on the current template. So every time you go to submit a claim report, just download the newest file. So yes, the template has 4 tabs here: the instructions, food, other, and total. The instructions tab will tell you some of the guidelines for filling out the template as well as sample entries. So pay special attention to the format that is requested when you enter your items on the claim template, and note the file name and email subject line formats as well. So when you save it, it'll need to be saved in a specific way. And the food tab, you'll complete all the yellow fields and enter your reimbursable items by completing the fields under each gray column heading. You may enter items from different months and invoices on one claims worksheet. If you have so many items that they surpass the green total field near the bottom of the sheet, that's okay. They'll just reformat the sheet when they review the claim. If there are unallowable items on the food tab, these will be highlighted and removed during the review. And note, if you're claiming an item against your Farm to CNP reimbursement grant, this same item cannot be claimed against another grant, which is considered double dipping. Like, you can't claim it also on the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program or DoD Fresh. And the other tab is used for that 25% that aren't food costs. You'll enter any non-food costs that that can include reasonable costs incurred from growing, harvesting, processing, sourcing, transporting, and education and promotional materials of organ foods, including but not limited to labor it takes to process fresh product, mileage for distribution, and other supplies and equipment it takes to use local or organ foods. And then the total tabs is something for ODE to use internally. So please do not enter anything or change anything on this tab. Everything else will like populate to this tab and you don't have to worry about that. Okay. So you'll save your claims worksheet in the requested format and submit your claims to farm2cmp@ode.oregon.gov. You do not need to submit invoices with your claims, but you will need to retain them for your records as they'll randomly select a handful of grantees to undergo a desk audit. These are specific to Farm2CMP, are not associated with other CMP reviews. Once the claim has been received, the Farm2CMP team will update the totals tab with your year-to-date totals and ending balance and attach a file to the claim pre-approval email for your records. Should there be any errors on the claim submission, they'll send it back to you for necessary edits. It's important to remember that claims must be reviewed and pre-approved by the Farm2CMP team before they are entered into EGMs. So send it to them first and then you'll enter it into EGMs. If they are entered directly into EGMs, they'll be automatically rejected. And claims are reviewed in the order in which they are received. The turnaround can take up to 2 weeks. So once you have received the pre-approval email, and the claim is ready to enter into EGMs. And if you have any like issues getting into EGMs, just reach out to one of us and we can help with that as well. So a few notes on food service management companies and vended meal contracts. The purpose of this reimbursement grant is to benefit the school for food authority, not the food service management company. Since food service management companies have a fixed cost per meal, all costs associated with that fixed cost must be in that meal. Therefore, the food service management company may not bill the cost back to the school district or client. They should figure out these reimbursements when they're calculating their bids. If there's a sponsor providing meals to another eligible school district or organization, these situations are also vended meal contracts, so they would be handled the same way as a food service management contract or company. The entity that orders the food and provides the meals would submit the claim. All reimbursements would go to the sponsor that receives the meals. Sometimes it's confusing, but when in doubt, check in with the Farm2CMP team. Other vended meal situations, you may have entered into an agreement with a manufacturer of food to provide meals, for example, Fresh and Local. Technically, these are also vended meal contracts. However, Fresh and Local would be considered a food manufacturer in grant terms. So the best way to manage that situation is to have the sponsor submit the claim. The main difference in the situation is that the vendor is simply selling the meals and has no oversight or management of the CMP program whatsoever. So Fresh and Local supplies meals to the sponsor with a detailed receipt that would include a breakdown of any items that would be reimbursable under the grant. The total price of the invoice would also have a subtotals to break down these reimbursable items. All right, now onto the competitive reimbursement grant. This is the process that ODE uses to redistribute extra unspent funds to grantees who have exhausted their initial Farm2CMP non-competitive grant awards. There's a budget, they budget a certain portion of their total Farm2CMP grant program allocated, as explained earlier, but funds reduced or liquidated from grantees unable to spend or who are not demonstrating adequate progress are added to this allocation. And note, if you have received local food for schools funding, it's the level of prioritization of spending would be the non-competitive grant funds, the local Food for Schools funding, and then moving on to the competitive reimbursement grant process. Application for the first round of competitive reimbursement grants are projected to open sometime in December, which is probably not happening. But there's been a lot of changes to the competitive reimbursement grant this year or this biennium, so we'll be seeing those applications probably roll out in early next year. So to be eligible for those competitive grant funds, a grantee must have exhausted their non-competitive reimbursement grant and be at a $0 balance. And the competitive grant functions exactly like the non-competitive reimbursement grant. It has the same rules, guidelines, and claims procedure. So there's no max to how many rounds you can apply for. The only eligibility requirement is that you are at a $0 balance. This grant will have its own training resource released closer to the time of the first round of applications open. So early next year, we will dive deeper into the intention of the grant and the application process because it's a little bit different this year if you've participated previously. So make sure to check your listserv email and get those communications and notifications. And some resources for the Farm to CNP program. There's several resources available to you to utilize your Farm to CNP reimbursement grant funds. There's promotion education materials, purchasing, and more. And so we'll get into some of those. Step 1 is getting connected to your regional hub through the Oregon Farm to School and School Garden Network. This network is a local nonprofit dedicated to the success of farm to school around Oregon. They have many resources on their website, and I am a regional hub in serving Jackson and Josephine County, and there's other regional hub coordinators that are doing procurement work in all these designated areas across the state. So you can get connected with them and they can help you connect with producers in your area and provide you with support, all things farm to school, from the grant to buying things. So great people to reach out to. And then the Oregon Harvest for Schools directory is a searching tool to find all of Oregon foods. So using this tool, you can search by category, including product type, producer identity, USDA meal components, and regional availability to see what might be available for your school. And this is also another resource to look into if you're looking for what to claim and what not to claim. The non-competitive reimbursement grant webpage under resources for claims has a combined claim files from previous bienniums. So what's been purchased, what hasn't from farm to school reimbursement grant funds in previous years. It can be sorted by county, district, product, and vendor. All right. So thank you for your participation. And this can be, this is recorded so you can watch it again if you need to go through it slower or in any way, but there's a link to the training attestation for participation. I'm also going to link that in the chat here. And allow for any questions to be answered. And I'm going to stop my share as well, but we can open up whatever needs to be opened up.
So I have a question.
Yes.
We're trying to link this together with our FFA greenhouse. And my question is, I already talked to Christy? Yes, Christy about it. And a little bit. Do you know much about the garden to school program? Or do you only know about farm to school?
The garden to school program is like within the farm to school program. So there's like procurement support and then also education support. So are you referring to like more the education side of things, or?
So we want to utilize our greenhouse. We have a really nice greenhouse and we want to utilize it.
Yeah.
And so we were trying to figure out how to utilize it with what we have. And we just didn't know if the garden had to be an outside garden or if it could be a greenhouse.
It can be either one. And if you're looking to like sell produce that's in the garden to the school,
Yeah.
that's something that you can use your farm to CNP grant funds for. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yep. That's what I need to know then.
Yeah. And I can
Thank you.
follow up more on that too.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
And Abigail, I just wanted to reiterate, this is Emily from ODE, from the Farm to School team. The email that I sent out today just stated that the December 31st deadline for submitting your first claim is no longer applicable, just because we don't have those agreements out yet. We didn't think we could ask that. So there will be no funds taken away if you don't submit by December at all. We might revisit that in the spring and ask people to get claiming at least by April, but definitely no December deadline at this point.
Thank you for reiterating that. And is there a timeline on those formal grant agreements going out? Or
I face up. I don't have an exact date, but we are very hopeful it's going to be early in the new year. So that's all I got, unfortunately. But I know they're in process and they're very close.
thank you for the update. Any other questions? Seen a lot of folks on the call that have participated previously, so maybe this was just your way to yeah, hear it all again and get some reminders. Great. Well, make sure you fill out the attestation form. It's quick and easy, and thanks for hopping on and listening in. Yeah, I'll hang on for a little bit in case anyone wants to unmute, but yeah, appreciate everyone tuning in.